So I saw a graphic somewhere and I really wish I would have taken a screenshot or copied the link, because when I tried to search for it after the fact, I wasn't able to find the specific reference, but in searching for it, I found a host of other similar articles, some from credible sources, others not so much. But the graphic I saw and the subsequent articles that I found later was in regards to the top 5 prospects going into the 2021 trade deadline, and they had Thaddeus Young of the Chicago Bulls 4th on that list. And based on the video I made yesterday, as well as just obviously his recent performances of Thaddeus Young, it really got me thinking this is probably one of the most difficult trade decisions for the Bulls front office, and that's what I wanted to talk about in this video today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. First off, you're probably noticing I'm just showing some random press interviews of Thaddeus Young in this video because I have no idea why, but most of Thaddeus's videos, even his older ones, have copyright restrictions. I even got hit with a copyright claim on my dedicated Thaddeus Young video from yesterday, which is ridiculous. So I do apologize for that, but I also don't want my channel to get banned. Anyways, guys, it's no question, Thaddeus Young has had himself an incredible season in terms of his impact for this Bulls team and what he brings coming off the bench, not only in his versatility in playing multiple positions, but also his playmaking, that he has slowly adapted and evolved his game as he's gotten older and maybe not as athletic as he used to be. I've said it before, there's an argument that could be made that Thaddeus is the Bulls' second best player, if not the third best at a minimum. But now it begs the question for the front office. With this great season he's having, and with the trade value, his trade value likely as high as it's ever been, and given Thaddeus's age and likely not a part of the Bulls' long-term plans, does it make sense to trade him to a contending team that is looking for a solid rotational veteran that is dynamic in his play and that might be willing to give up some young assets for him in return for any team that's in win now mode? Now, for the record, I personally do not want the Bulls to trade Thaddeus Young, nor do I think it makes sense to, and I'll explain why. The thing about Thaddeus is, yes, he is not a part of the Bulls' long-term plans. He's 32, he's in the second year of a 3-year deal, and the Bulls are still trying to build for the future. But the thing I feel the Bulls risk if they were to remove Thaddeus Young is they potentially miss the playoffs, because if the Bulls ever had a glue guy on this team, it's him. You can throw Garrett Temple into that as well, but Thaddeus has been the glue guy for this roster in stepping in when the younger guys have faltered a bit. I'm not saying Thaddeus is the answer to all the Bulls' problems, and if you take him away, we're a lottery team, no. But the rationale for why you trade Thaddeus is because his trade value is high, and if you're the Bulls, if someone is willing to offer you a young prospect or say even a first-round pick in exchange for him, you know, the idea of setting aside short-term success for long-term success, I get that, but the fact of the matter is the Bulls have been doing that for a long time, and it's finally starting to bear some fruit. Eventually, you have to start showing to the league that you're becoming a winning team again, with a winning culture, and not just in constant rebuild mode and trading for draft picks that could ultimately turn out to be busts. Making it to the playoffs in and of itself gets your team some recognition on a national level and makes your organization more attractive as a free agency destination. The Bulls have to start demonstrating that they're on a winning path, and honestly think that they could show that by keeping Thaddeus as their glue guy, playing out his contract through the end of the next offseason, and then assess how things have transpired at that time as opposed to trading him. By trading him away, Thaddeus, you're essentially sending a message to the league, we're still rebuilding, which is fine if the team is still struggling and you need to make some changes, especially for guys who don't fit the timeline for contention. But the Bulls are actually playing better basketball now and have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. You want to show to prospective free agents that this team is on the up and up, that they're establishing a winning culture, and hey, I want to be a part of that. Making the playoffs gives you that type of national exposure. Free agents, quality free agents anyway, that have the leverage to go wherever they want to play for a team that is up and coming, not a team that is rebuilding. Now, with all that being said, does the front office view this the same way? I guess a lot of it depends on how much value Thaddeus Young is actually, drawing in and holds across the league. Because obviously there's always an offer that is too good to pass up when you just essentially have to do it. Like, If the Orlando Magic offered Vucevic straight up for Thaddeus Young, which would never happen and wouldn't make sense at all for the Magic given their rebuilding, but if they somehow made that offer, of course you make that trade. Or say if Mark Cuban started becoming senile and wanted to trade Luka Doncic for Thaddeus Young, yes, you do that, but realistically, for what Thaddeus Young likely can bring in via a trade, no, I don't think it's worth it. The most enticing thing that Young could probably draw in for a trade with a contending team is a first-round pick, which is a pretty good deal for someone like Thaddeus. But if it's with a contending team, it's likely a late first-rounder, which can be, that can be valuable picks within that range. But for the most part, that area tends to be a bit of a crapshoot, and I would rather just keep what the Bulls have going right now. Honestly, I think I'm just tired of seeing the Bulls rebuilding, losing season after season, and I'm tired of building through the draft. It's time to start making progress. I've heard some people out there saying that we should trade Thaddeus for Mo Bamba because he's a younger asset and he can play the center. But no, I like the idea of actually bringing Bamba in and taking a chance on him, but not giving up Thaddeus. The Magic have already given up on this kid. You shouldn't have to give up too much for him in a trade. And if the Magic are wanting Thaddeus in return for him, no thanks, hard pass. You can get a lot less from Mo Bamba, in my opinion. So I don't know, this one is honestly tough because at the same time, as much as I think Thaddeus is critical to this team's overall success, despite the fact that he doesn't put up star-like numbers, his contributions on and off the court are very valuable. But I also understand that if he's commanding enough value that will send you some quality young assets in return, you obviously have to consider that if you're the front office. I want to know what you guys feel about all of this though. Do you think it makes sense to trade Thaddeus Young given his value is likely high right now? And guys, I know a lot of it depends on what you can get from return. I know these questions are always a well, it depends type response, but in your view, based on what you think we could realistically get for him, does it make sense to trade him since he's likely not a part of the Bulls' long-term plans? Or do we stick with him, make a run for the playoffs, and hope the Bulls are able to attract bigger names as a result of that success? Let me know in the comments. As always, guys, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan and you like daily Bulls content. Thanks again, as always, guys, for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.